Chiniki.
Chiniki, Bear's Paw, and Wesley.
Yeah, Wesley.
Wesley.
That's part of the Stony Nakoda.
Okay.
Yeah.
No. So, okay. I think. Thank you, everyone. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for joining us virtually and in person for the longest night of the year ceremonies for 2021. This is the first year where we are also streaming the event for people abroad and for people who could not make it to attend for everyone's safety. My name is Nigel Kirk, and I am a member of the Client Action Committee. We are a group of volunteers who use our voices and our experiences having been homeless before to advocate for those who are experiencing or at risk of becoming homeless. We are a diverse group. We have people of all sorts of ages in our group, various races, various beliefs. And I'd like to thank everyone from the Client Action Committee for being here. And I'd like to thank, on behalf of the Client Action Committee, everyone who is able to attend or who is watching online. There's a couple of housekeeping items before we begin. We ask that you keep 2 meters apart for physical distancing and safety. I know it's natural in our instinct to want to be close together at a gathering like this, but whenever possible, please do try and remember physical distancing. We also have food and refreshments available under the tent, hot chocolate, bottled water, and we would also like to thank the Mustard Seed for providing chili and buns for us tonight. To open the formal program, I'd like to begin with a land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that the land upon which we gather today is Indigenous land. We also recognize the traditional Blackfoot name for this place, where the Bow River meets the Elbow River, Mokinstis, which we now call the City of Calgary. We would like to acknowledge that we are on the traditional land of the Blackfoot Confederacy, the Siksika, the Kainai, the Piikani, as well as the Treaty 7 territory, which includes the Tsuut'ina and Stoney Nakoda, which is comprised of the 3 bands of the Chiniki, Bear's Paw, and Wesley. Calgary is also home to the Métis people of Region 3. Tonight's event marks the 7th annual longest night of the year, a memorial coordinated by the Client Action Committee to remember those who have passed away while experiencing homelessness in Calgary. The first longest night of the year was an informal gathering. My friend and Client Action Committee colleague, Randy Pages, along with a few friends and myself, had all gathered at the park, James Short Parkade to be exact, to swap stories about the friends that we had lost. And we had brought coffee, we had brought candles, although apparently that was actually against the law, but we didn't get caught. And we reminisced and we mourned and we grieved. And other people saw what we were doing and they came and joined us and they mourned and they grieved along with us as well. This year, we were fortunate enough to be able to hold this event at the Permanent Homeless Memorial, which was unveiled a couple months ago in October, and it offers a safe space to pay tribute to those we've lost all year round. As part of the memorial, we collect the names of everyone we've loved and lost while experiencing homelessness this year, so each person is remembered. I also want to preface that sometimes we often use the term died of homelessness rather than just passing away while homeless, because we also acknowledge, and these names include people who had been homeless in the past, may have gotten housed, but something about homelessness had interfered and may have contributed to their death, whether it be an addiction issue, whether it be depression, whether it be self-harm, whether it be a lack of supports while housed. We also want to recognize that homelessness contributed to their passing as well, and that they are just as valid. Tonight, we remember the lives of 188 people. However, that number has actually been updated, and we have lost 192 people this year. And to honor them, we start with a blessing followed by a reading of their names. We will also be sharing eulogies of 4 individual people who have passed this year. These eulogies were volunteered by friends and colleagues who knew them. And with these stories, we hope to show how each person named is more than a number. They were people who deserve to be treated with dignity and who lived lives worthy of remembrance. And even those who are on our list today, who might not be given a eulogy today, they have stories. People who love them have stories. They are every bit as valid. I would also like to take this time to mention the organization Poverty Talks has been collecting stories as well, and they will be sharing stories and eulogies throughout the next couple of days as well to honor people who passed away because of homelessness. These eulogies will be told throughout the program, both before and after the reading of names. We will also have a minute of silence, followed by singing and drumming, and a non-denominational prayer. So to start, I would like to welcome Elder Gilbert Crowchild to perform the blessing.
Tatanastada Seze Klata he miza ata. Welcome. My name is Child of Everything. That is my name that was given to me at birth through spiritual connections. And I want to correct you. I'm still an elder in training. So I just do that as a funny. But anyways, one of the things that I'd like to say to you is that what you're doing here is very special. And we have a word for this day. And this day, what it really means to us is that leaving behind the old year, leaving everything behind, and then you're welcoming the winter. That's our new year. As a Sut'ina people, that's what we have. So as part of it, we always light a smudge. And this smudge is that you want to talk to a higher being, higher than us as humans. Because we always say to ourselves is that we're not humans having a spiritual experience. We're spirits having a human experience. That's how we look at it. Zanako halakua seka. The old men and the old women used to share this knowledge with us. And what that means in our language is that everything is connected. So when we look above and where we sit, where we walk, and what we see, through all the natural elements that provide life, that means to us work together. That means working with all the natural elements. Not just us as human beings, not just us as spiritual beings, not just the animals, but everything. So that's how we look at it. So what you're doing here for these young men and women, and I say it in a polite way. No matter what their age may have been, they were young, and they were somebody's son or daughter. Out of that there, you're going to honor them based upon their life and the experience they had during their journey. We always have something in place for special events. And this special event that you're having right now, and why the smudge is going, is because spirit becomes pure. And us as human beings, we're asking them to come be with us for a brief moment. And we all give off odors of different kind. And because they're pure, they can only visit for a little bit, for a short, brief time during that request for them to be present. And so by reading their names, you read it based upon who they were, but you also ask them to have a safe journey and not to look back so they don't take anybody else with them. So we always look at it in a positive way because we are here just as visitors. The long term is not here. It's our spiritual side that we have. So it's very important that in your hearts and your mind, we always talk about that's the toughest journey that we have is between our heart and our mind, because there's so many distractions throughout the world, and that's why we have that problem. Sometimes we'll remember something, but our heart may feel for that. So that's what we always talked about. And the most sacred heart that we have right now is where we stand and sit, and that's creation's, the earth. She does a lot of things for us. She helps us in many ways. So with these young men and women, pray for them that their journey be safe, and forgive them for whatever they may have done wrong, but to acknowledge them for everything they've done right. So I'm going to sing a quick song here, and then I'm going to say a prayer. And what it's going to be based upon is how we feel internally. So each and every one of you, also these people may have passed, but also think of your families and your loved ones and all those that are dear to your heart. Nata anakotene nasetene na anata naskagalega dietsene se enakakones kle anata senajena enakakones kle. Watch over all the people that are here. Protect them, guide them, build your love and light around them as they continue in their journey of life. Put your blessings upon those who are struggling. Give them the strength and understanding so that they can move forward in life, that there are so many resources that they will be able to access. My Father, the Creator, there are so many things that we do not understand, but this we do understand. We thank you for the life you bestowed upon each and every one of us and all our loved ones. Protect them, guide them, and watch over those who have lost their lives so that they will be received in your arms, that they will have a clear understanding of their life upon this earth. My Father, the Creator of heaven and earth, this I humbly request. The words in that song are asking for only for the good spirits to be with us, and it eliminates all that are of negative essence. So that's what that means. So I want to thank you for allowing me to be part of this very special occasion that you have set up for the people who have lost their lives. And may Nata Naskagalike bless each and every one of you for honoring them.
Thank you very much, Elder Crowchild. As I've said earlier, tonight's event is going to be focusing a lot on stories. And we've all got them. And Emily knows that I always take a tangent whenever I'm here speaking to share a story of someone who's very close to me. Her name was Sherry. We both participated in theater activities together with a homeless theater troupe. And she had passed away of cancer. And I did have the opportunity to go to her funeral. But Sherry's family is very much opposed to Sherry's lifestyle. And they dead named her and dead gendered her the entire funeral service, and it felt like I was going to a stranger's funeral. And by having this memorial, it gives me a chance to reflect on what Sherry was to me as a valued friend, a valued colleague, a talented actress, and someone that I loved very much and cared about, and gives me that opportunity to reflect and grieve. And I hope that this gives many people an opportunity to reflect and grieve. We do this both for the homeless community so that they can reflect and grieve and have community, as well as for family members who may not have found out that someone that they loved was homeless and passed away and might not hear about it for a while. This gives them an opportunity to come and reflect and grieve. And to everyone in the homeless community and to all family members who have been affected by the loss of life of someone who had experienced homelessness, we are here with you, and this is just as much for you as it is for the dignity of those that we've lost. In honor of this event, Mayor Jody Gondek, on behalf of the City of Calgary, has issued a Mayoral Proclamation, which I will now read. The Longest Night of the Year Memorial is an annual public event hosted by the Client Action Committee with support from the Calgary Homeless Foundation. It is an opportunity to commemorate those who have lost their lives while experiencing homelessness. Whereas this year marks the 7th anniversary of this important candlelight memorial, whereas relationships that are formed and sustained among the homeless community can be just as important as biological family connections, whereas every person who passes has a right to a dignified memorial service where friends and family gather to mourn, reflect, and remember. On behalf of the City Council and the citizens of Calgary, I hereby proclaim December 21st, 2021 as the longest night of the year. I would now at this time like to invite Dan Grover from camp to come up and share the first eulogy of the evening. This eulogy is in remembrance of Derek, who had passed away while experiencing homelessness this year. Dan?
Derek was a man who always defied people's expectations of him. He was a disruptor, and I mean that in the best way. A famous religious leader once said that the first shall be last and the last shall be first, and Derek helped to make that happen. When he was in the hospital, people who walked into his room thinking that they knew everything and they were going to help him, they often left his room feeling small and really reconsidering how good they were at their job. But on the other hand, people who often got overlooked were treated like treasured family members. We often talk about how one of our team members walked in on Derek spoon-feeding the old man who was dying in the hospital room next to him, even though Derek himself was hospitalized. His sense of humor was contagious. He had a way of looking at the world that was smart and insightful, and also just silly sometimes. He didn't take himself too seriously, and he was good at making sure that you didn't take yourself too seriously either. With all that he had going on, he had this sort of magnetism. A lot of people just wanted to be around Derek. One thing that he really struggled with was asking for what he needed. I guess we'll never know why. If it was that he didn't want to inconvenience people, or if he didn't have the words to ask. They say that people often die how they lived. Well, the day Derek died, there was a swirl of chaos around him. A lot of different people wanted to support him, and there ended up being 5 different teams from 3 different agencies, all working to give him care. It was a little bit challenging. No one, he didn't really tell us what he wanted, and so everyone was doing what they thought was the best thing. It got really heated, and his favorite music was Irish gangster rap, so that was kind of going on the whole time, which I think was great for him, but it was a little bit like, it wasn't calming. But true to his ability to disrupt the norm, in Derek's last hours, he helped to start a conversation about how we can do better with different agencies and how we can work better to provide dignity at the end of someone's life. All of a sudden, though, in the middle of all this chaos, there was just this moment of calm, and everyone gathered around Derek, and not much was said. But at exactly 4:20, which was his favorite number for some reason, he peacefully died. Derek, you were sorely missed and thought of often. The lessons that you've taught us and me to disrupt the norm when things aren't working, to not take myself too seriously, to ask for help when I need it, and to look out for people who are underserved are a part of your legacy. Rest in peace.
Thank you, Dan. At this time, I would also like to invite Paul Jensen, a member of the Client Action Committee, to come up and share a eulogy with us in honor of Richard.
Oh. Good afternoon. My name is Paul Jensen. Not only a member of the Client Action Committee, but also proud to be a support worker and pilot project coordinator for the Sharp Foundation. It's like a family I've never had. I'm extremely honored to have been asked to speak about our client and friend Richard. I am also quite nervous in finding the right words to say as a tribute to him. Saying goodbye to Richard was really hard for all of us. Not only because Richard was so young, which he was, but also because he was a very special person who had goals and dreams and plans. Richard came to Murray's House from homelessness in early 2018, and it was with us until his last day. Throughout the time period, he tried multiple programs to deal with and address his addiction that would ultimately steal his life. Richard had a mischievous and contagious smile, man. He was a very kind and compassionate human that cared deeply for his family, his late mother, his father, and his 2 brothers. He also had many strong bonds with friends and housemates. Richard had an knack for being in the right spot at the right time and knowing exactly what to do every time. Richard is solely responsible for saving more than 20 lives. That we know of. By keeping himself informed and prepared with naloxone. I can only imagine how many people were impacted away from the building with his friends. This doesn't get easier any time. Richard was a vivacious and very energetic young man that had both a history that he was proud of and a future he was planning. Richard proudly displayed an American flag in his room which represented his dual citizenship, having been born to a Canadian mother in Nevada. He returned to Canada around the age of 12 and grew up between Innisfail and Calgary. Richard spent most of his adult life in Calgary and was proud of the landscaping jobs that he completed. He worked for a long time in the area around Murray's House, go figure, and took great pride in pointing out the jobs that he had worked and the trees that he planted to saplings, now thriving trees. Richard had a remarkable moral code that he lived by. He would never cause harm or pain to anyone. He worked very hard for his money. He he would get up early and spend his days collecting and crushing cans so that he could make a maximum amount. He was usually able to convince, I had something, I told you you're the best. He was usually able to convince our fellow staff members to drive him to the bottle depot. Richard would go alley dumpster shopping, hoping to find valuable and pawnable items that he could, pawn while he was collecting his cans. He cared very deeply for his fellow humans. He would often tell staff about concerns with other residents, his friends, and especially his brother. Richard was very bothered by any human suffering and did everything in his power to avoid it. Richard would talk about his future. He would say that one day he was going to have a place of his own and decorate with all his huge speakers, his tiger blankets and posters, flashy artwork. He would talk about going back to work landscaping so he could be outside all day and feel accomplished and proud. Richard was sensitive, bright, and a very caring young man that was taken from this world much sooner than anyone could have hoped. We all hope that he is somewhere amazing and reunited with his mother that he missed so much. This world is a much better place for having Richard in it and will be missed.
Thank you, Paul. The eulogies you've heard are for two among many we wish to honor this year. As I've said, while we only have 4 eulogies here tonight, every name that is on this wall, that will be flashing on this wall here, they have stories. They have people who love them. They have friends and family who have their own eulogies for them. And let's not let anybody here be reduced to a statistic. They are all important individuals. To continue to honor the people who've passed away this year, I would like to welcome the members of the Client Action Committee to read the names of the people who have died while experiencing homelessness in Calgary. After the reading of names, we will hold a minute of silence. Hillary, I believe you're up first.
I'm Hillary Chappell with the Client Action Committee. Aaron, Adam, Adolphus, Alex, Alfred, Alison, Anastasius, Anthony, Barb, Bill, Blair, Bradley, Branter, Brett, Calvert, Cameron, Carson, Cecilia, Chadwick, and Shalise.
Again. Still shaking a little bit. Chancey, Charlene, Charlton, Chase, Christian, Christopher, Chuck, Cliff, Cody, Colin, Corey, Dana, Daniel, Daniela, David, Dennis, Derek, Desmond, otherwise known as Des, Devin, and Devin.
Desiree, Dylan, Doris, Douglas, Ebane, Edward, Elaine, Emmett, Eric, Florence, Floyd, Flossade, Gabriel, Gary, Jem, Jeff, Jeffrey, George, Glenn, Greg, Gurmuk,
Harley, Harold, Harvey, Hayden, Isaac, Jason, Jennifer, Jeremy, Jody, Joe, Joel, John, Jordan, Josh, Josiah, June, Carrie Lee, Aaron.
And I just want to say how honored I am to be reading these names with the Client Action Committee. Karen, Katie, Kane, Keith, Kenneth, Kevin, Kylie, Lane, Larry, Lawrence, Leonard, Lorne, Lyle, Mark, Marcella, Marco, Marissa, Melissa, Michael, Michelle, and Michelle.
Michelle, Nathan, Neil, Nichelle, Naomi, Paige, Patrice, Patricia, Patrick, Paul, Perry, Peter, Raymond, Remigio, Remy, Richard, Rita, Robert, Roland, Roseanne, Samantha, Scott, Shelley. Thank you.
Shamar, Sherry, Skylar, Sloan, Stephen, Stuart, Tamia, Tammy, Ted, Terrence, Tim, Travis, Trevor, Troy, Tyson, Vanna, Vanell, Vincent, Violet, Wacy, Wayne, Wesley, William, William, and Willie. Thank you all for reading the names and honoring those who have passed away this year while experiencing homelessness. We will now hold a minute of silence, followed by Sydney Gill for a singing and drumming performance.
My name is Gisiki Sukpiasu, meaning strong thunderbird. And I was adopted into Wuptika Teoshpais, Hornchip's extended family. And I'm here tonight to sing a couple songs. I've been part of this since it started, and before that I'm lucky enough to call a lot of you here friends, if I can say that. And I've been lucky enough to work with a lot of these men and women who experienced this life. And this afternoon I sat about it, and I made some prayer ties, and I thought about what we're doing here and why we're doing this. It's been 7 years we've been coming together to do this, and it's a good number, sacred number. So tonight I'm going to sing two songs. This first one's the first time I've ever sung it, and it was one I was thinking about today because it's a Cree song, and colonization and all that took all language and everything away from me. But I'm claiming that revitalization here through singing, and the only time I can speak Indigenous is when I sing. So I'm going to sing one in Cree, and then I'm going to sing one in Lakota to be trilingual and do my part for language revitalization and bring that back, and then teach my children and the others around me who want to learn. And the first one sings about seeing this through different ways. The first one talks about how we're looking at these people live this way of life, live this traditional sacred way of life, Pimatsawin in Cree. And the other song is from those people who were watching, also singing, but they sing about living this actual way of life through the sacred pipe, the way of the pipe. So in a few days, we're going to go crawl in ceremony and sweat, and these will come with us to complete this, what we've done here tonight. All my relations.
Thank you, Sydney. We have two more eulogies we'd like to share with you tonight. The first will be offered by my friend, fellow CAC member, and fellow co-founder and participant of the very first longest night of the year, Randy Pages.
Hello. Many names are spoken here tonight. Some were friends, some were family. Maybe it was someone you met for the first time. But to many, that's all they were just names. One of those names was a good friend of mine. When I found out about your passing, I was truly saddened. Maybe, we talked a lot. We used to get along great. I always enjoyed your friendship. Our conversations kind of went everywhere, and that's one of the things I liked about you. You made it easy just to open up and say what I wanted to say. And it made it, a lot better for me. As the years went on, we got to know each other a lot better. I met his son. He was a good kid. I enjoyed my time with him as well. Sorry, it's been a rough few years. I honestly don't know how I would have got through those years without you there. Knowing I would see you the next day, knowing that you would have something to say to brighten the day, make me smile. I'm going to miss those talks. Our talks got a lot fewer and fewer and fewer over the last few years. He was housed where he was, and I was housed where I was. You weren't one for social media, so I had no way to really get a hold of you to talk to you. It was whenever I could run into you downtown and see you. I cherish those times, especially now more so than ever. I don't know where you are, my friend, but BL wants to know something. Hope she found your rubber boots, my friend.
Thank you, Randy. Our final eulogy of the night will be offered by, and I apologize if I mispronounce this name, Dusanka Maric with the Sharp Foundation, who will speak about Violet from Murray's house.
Okay, sorry, forgive me while I'm bad with my feet and my hands. Okay. So I'd like to take the time to start by introducing myself. My name is Deshanka Merrick. I work with the Sharp Foundation as an executive assistant, which I'm extremely thankful for, but I spent most of my time working in our permanent supportive housing buildings in the past, for which I can truly say the people that I met, staff as well as residents and one person that we're here to talk about today, truly did change certain aspects of my life that I'm forever grateful for. So this evening I would like to honor the life and legacy of Violet Stonechild, who passed peacefully this fall in palliative care with the Sharp Foundation at the age of 77. Born Violet Worm in Coakatus, my apologies if that's incorrect, Saskatchewan, Violet shortly moved to Taber here in Alberta as a child. She did not have an easy life and survived residential schooling, homelessness, and domestic violence throughout her years. But that's not to say that her life was not full of love and light, because Violet was fiercely loved and fiercely cared about. I was lucky and fortunate enough to this day to know Violet as a resident in permanent supportive housing at Murray's house, where she came to us needing regular care after being diagnosed with lung cancer. She quickly became the darling of Murray's house as soon as she entered those two doors, where she was known for her storytelling, stubbornness, and making many jokes. Violet was fun-loving. An example was as she would drive to her doctor's appointments, she would tell us to crank the music all the way up and would often stop for her favorite food, Kentucky Fried Chicken, on the way home. This was a necessity. She was a fighter with unbelievable willpower and optimism, even approaching the end. But don't be fooled to think that Violet was just one sweet little lady. Those closest to her would describe her with much zest. Her son-in-law, Marty, describes her as a tigress who would fight to the death to defend her daughters, Laura and Lisa, as well as all those that she cared about. The trio were inseparable, and despite their many hardships with poverty and addiction, they were known for sharing what they had with those who had even less. Violet did another very selfless thing prior to her passing that she was very proud of, and she would speak to the masses at Murray's house about how much she enjoyed doing it, and we believe that deserves recognition. We continue to have a willingness to increase and expand capacity in the palliative care program to care for more people like Violet who are approaching their final days and often other times would not be given the dignity to die peacefully and receive compassionate care. Not all palliative care programs are equipped to support people who are experiencing homelessness who have complex needs, and no one deserves to die homeless or because of homelessness. Violet was kind and brave enough to share her story openly and honestly, not only with us, but publicly. While she was dying from cancer, she was advocating for people just like her. Her story was shared widely across the city, and with any luck, the program would expand to offer more beds and specialized medical care for those in need. Not only did Violet die peacefully and with dignity, but she leaves an important legacy of ensuring that others experiencing homelessness are offered the same care and dignity in death. We owe her many thanks for sharing her story and for fiercely loving her family and community right until the very end. Thank you.
Thank you. To close the formal program, we would like to welcome Reverend Adam Bedford, who will lead us in a final prayer.
Thanks, Nigel. Gathered in our various faiths and in memory of all whom we've honored tonight, let's pray. Creator, Spirit of life, source of all that is, we pray for those we've lost. We carry each of their names and stories in loving embrace. May they be remembered well as sons and daughters, parents, siblings, friends, and neighbors. May they rest in peace eternal. Help us in our common grief. Give voice to our loss and let it inspire change. May we keep space for the anger we feel at the injustice to which our most vulnerable is subject, and may it lead us to loving action. May equity and justice for all among us begin with those who are often the last to receive it. As we acknowledge the uniqueness of every story and every soul honored tonight, we pray for the path to reconciliation and inclusiveness. May these fragile possibilities for change find deeper rootedness in our world. And lastly, we pray for those who look for sleep tonight in emergency shelters and hospitals, on couches, or on cold ground beneath winter skies. May health guard them, hope direct them, and peace follow them. We put the best of ourselves at their service, and we ask you, breath that sustains all things, to breathe strength, courage, and light into their journeys and ours. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend. We've now reached the end of tonight's program. Thank you to everyone who has joined us today, in person and online. We encourage you to come visit the Homeless Memorial at any time you need a safe space to remember a loved one. Thank you all, and be well.